Good evening and welcome to Compassion Ministries. We are so excited to have you here with us tonight. I am Minister Kristen Johnson, and sitting with me is Minister in Training Jackie Jordan, Minister Tara Norwood, Minister Dr. Michelle Radcliffe, and Minister Stacy Hamlin. We have just come off of an amazing week here at Compassion. We had a women's conference called The Unveiling, the celebration of a new you. And we were poured into for 3 days, and we are so excited about the new thing that God is doing in all of our lives. So tonight, we are just excited that you are here with us, and we want you to just sit back and relax as we take a moment to share just a little from our hearts about the journey of motherhood. So sit back and take out your snacks and stay with us for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Let's get on the same page. Whether you are a mother that has actually birthed children, whether you are a spiritual mom or a God mom or a play mom or an auntie mom, then we think that you will enjoy being here with us tonight, because what we want to do is celebrate the maternal role in all of our lives. So I just ask that you just sit back and listen, and you can even participate in the conversations by typing in the chat anything that you may agree with, just so that everyone feels welcome and ready to join in tonight. I'm sure that most of you would agree that the journey of motherhood did not begin when you first had a child. I know for myself, I have been an aunt for most of my life. So long before I was a mother, I was an aunt. And as I was an aunt, I watched how my sisters and my mom and other people parented their children. And, we all have that idea in our mind that we're going to be the perfect mom and we're not going to make any mistakes or what we're going to do or not do. We've all seen those children in the supermarket that are falling out, throwing tantrums, and we're like, oh, when I have my kids, they better not ever do that. Or, if that was my child, that mom's not doing anything. And we have these preconceived notions that motherhood is easy, but it really is not easy. So I just want to take a moment for us to look back over our own childhoods and think about some of those things that we said we would never do when we became mothers. So I know one thing for me, and it may sound trivial to some people, but I said I would never, ever call my children from another floor of the house to come down and go get something to eat. Come fix me some ice cream. That was my mom's favorite line. And I swore that when I had children, I would not do that to them. How about you, Minister Stacy? What is that one thing you said you were never going to do when you became a mom?
For me, the one thing that I swore, I said I would always try to not be, their best friend, but be their mother first and be their friend second. Mm-hmm. Because that's how my mom was with me. It was like we were like friends, like girlfriends. And I was like, I did not want that for me and my children. So I had to learn to set up boundaries in that area between me and my kids. I am their mother first and their friend second.
Minister Michelle?
Well, I think chores. Chores was the biggest thing for my family. My mom would wake us up at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and say, everybody get up, it's time to do chores. And I want it done thorough. And I was like, what is the word thorough? I was like 6 or 7 and she was saying thorough. So I promised that when I did have children of my own, that I would not wake them up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning and say, let's get these chores together. So, you have to do chores, right, but not at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, all right. Tara?
Well, for me, I wasn't having kids, so I didn't even have a thing that I wasn't doing. The having kids was the thing.
All right, Jackie.
Well, let's just set the perspective straight. We all have wonderful mothers, so we're not saying that you didn't do it right? But this doesn't come with a manual. Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking we all had different size families, and it was 2 of us. So I was the oldest by 10 years, and my mom used to have me take my little sister everywhere with me. So I said, when I grow up, I am going to be the mother, and my children will be children, and the big sister doesn't have to take the little sister, or the big brother, per se, does not have to take the little brother. And so that's one thing I stuck with. But thanks, Mom. It taught me a lot.
All right, so we all have those thoughts that we just express about, I'm never going to do this. But as you start going through the journey of motherhood, I think we started to understand our mothers just a little bit better. So now that I get older, I look at myself sometimes in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I look just like my mom. Or, that sounds like something that my mom would say. And the other day, I went to Michael's Crafts for my mother because she loves to do crafts and I do not. And she's been trying to encourage me to find a hobby. So I went into Michael's and I went to buy her some yarn. And next thing I know, I had a whole basket full of yarn and crochet hooks and a book on how to make this and everything. And I said, oh my goodness, I am just like Jerry. I was like, I cannot believe this. I was like, so, have we ever had those, oh my God, I'm just like my mother moments? Let's talk about those. Minister Michelle.
Well, every time I go to Home Depot or if I go to Lowe's or if I go to a nursery, I am buying a plant. Like I have 1 million plants in my house, every room of the house. And I grew up with plants. My mom was a plant lover. She's a florist. And I vowed, I was like, I don't care about these plants, growing up. But now I am a plant girl. I am my mother. I am truly my mother.
All right, Tara.
Yes. First of all, I can't get away from my mom. I walk by a mirror and I see her. I really kind of feel her on the inside. But one of the things I think that stands out for me is my mom could make something out of absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. And so from early on, she was doing wallpaper, she was painting, she was putting stuff together. And that's me. There is nothing that I will not take apart, rebuild, redo, or remake. And I know I got that from her.
Okay, Jackie?
And so this is just a shout out. I'm a lot like my mother in my older years, but this is a shout out to those mother-like figures, right? So my godmother was really influential in my life, and we called her Aunt Mama. So I called her Aunt Mama, right? Aunt Mama Carol. So Aunt Mama Carol was notorious, right, for cleanliness. So cleanliness and how we cleaned it up and everything, how cleaned up the house. So I am an early riser. An early riser meant that we had to get up early in the morning and go to the laundromat. We shared those chores, as Michelle talked about. Mm-hmm. We shared the wiping down of the steps with an actual hand rag, So the young people now don't know anything about that. And one thing that she did teach me about myself was, like young ladies, you saw our little TikTok video, hopefully you saw it. You better not ever come out the house without your hair done, So it's just different things that you pick up along the way. It doesn't always have to be your blood mother, but those women that were very close to you and how you pick up those things.
Okay. Stacy?
I'm more like my mother now in my older, later years. I started going to the market super, super early in the morning, and I cannot get a senior discount, but I just find that, it's nobody in there, and I can get in and get out and go home and prepare my meal like she used to do. So I'm learning that, I'm finding myself doing that in my later years.
Mm-hmm. All right, so shout out to all of our
Yes.
moms and mom-like figures that have taught us something.
Yeah.
I have a really good friend who doesn't have any children of her own, and she always affectionately calls me Super Mom. So she's like, Super Mom, what are you doing now? All through my career, we started teaching together, and while I had my children, I was going to school and I was doing it. She's like, Super Mom, I can't keep up with you. Come on, Super Mom. We laugh about it. So I just want to talk about some of those times where you actually feel like you have superpowers, to kind of get through, some of those busy times. Like for me, and do not try this on your own. I remember when my daughter was a newborn, maybe 4 weeks old, and I had someplace to go, and my son had just turned 3. And we were driving down City Line Avenue. My daughter wanted to eat, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs, but I had to get wherever I was going. So I was like, all right, sometimes my son would help me out and sometimes he wouldn't. So I said, look, I can't take the screaming. I'm crashing my car. So I stopped at the light. I pulled that bottle out of the diaper bag, took it, turned around and put it in the bottle in her mouth with the car seat. So I had my right arm holding the bottle in her mouth. I had the left hand on the steering wheel, and we were going down City Line Avenue. And I was like, look, if that's not super mom, then I don't know what it is. So what about the rest of you? What is something else that you really felt like you had some kind of superpower? Stacy.
So for me, I would say I was like a super grandmom at one day at Chick-fil-A and trying to give my granddaughter a nugget or a French fry. And all of a sudden, she started to choke, but the car was still in reverse mode, and I didn't realize it. So I hopped out the car and pushed the car door open, only to jam it so hard that Travis had to come and help me close it. And it did not even close because he had to drive with it halfway open. So that was really, really, I was thinking I was super grandma because I don't want my granddaughter with no one else but me. And so that was my super grandma moment.
Okay, Michelle.
Well, while we were practicing for this, my daughter overheard us. And in the background, she was like, well, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe she actually said that, the grief that this child gives me. But I actually received 2 whole degrees while this child was being, raised. And I found that I am a super mom because I would get home, do homework with her, play with her, make dinner, make sure she had her bath, read to her, do all of these things that moms have to do. And then 8 o'clock, I have to shut the door and then go in and study and do my homework for school. And I kept doing this like year after year after year, and she didn't miss a beat. All her dance classes we were at, all her dance recitals, anything that she had to do, I still was able to do that and still achieve my particular goals. And I just found that to be super. That's a super woman. Anytime you can do the things that your child needs, making sure that her needs are met and still meet your dreams too. So that's my super mom story.
Great. Tara.
Yeah. So for me, similarly with Michelle, when I decided to go back to school, my daughter was probably already 3-4 years old. And she was my inspiration for going back to school. But during that period of my life, I was still working full-time as a single mom, dealing with depression and trying to get my degree. So I can remember when it came down to the wire, that last night when that last paper was due by 11:59. And that child sat there on the floor at my knees the whole time while I finished that paper. And in that moment, I felt like Supermom because I didn't believe that I was able to get all of that done and still raise her and do everything else that it takes. So, yeah, that was my moment.
Jackie.
I just applaud all my super moms, super friends over here, right? But I put my cape on every day when my children were growing up. I'm a mom of 4. When you go from being a mom of 1 to being a great big family because you have a set of twins next, it's like super huge. So when it's super huge like that, what do? I'm left home and, at the time I was married, so I had 2 dogs, right, that were under 6 weeks old, so they, were not potty trained, in the cage, out the cage. I had a 2-year-old, and I had these infants, 2 of them at one time. And I remember it was something going on, and they had to get to the doctors, and there was no one there to help me. And I'm never leaving out the house with these twins by myself because it's just too much work with twins and an extra child. This day I said, no more. I got them dressed. I got those 2 car seats. I put them on my arms like bundles of bags, and we were out the door, just trucking down the street to get in the car. And for some of you moms now, it's a little more convenient. We had to drive what was like a Cadillac stroller, right? The stroller was almost as big as my car to get them together. But from that point on, I knew that I was built for it. So that was one of my super mom moments.
All right, yes, and we definitely know that our strength comes from God. He puts people in our lives. He's given us the mothers that we have and the mother-like figures that we have to give us the strength that we need. But what about those times when things are just hard and you can't find it within you to just power up and just keep on going, but you have the little ones looking at you and you have they're like, Mom, I want this, and you're just, sometimes so tired that you just don't know how you're going to do it. I remember one time my children were a little older, maybe 10 and 13 or something, and I was going through a separation, so their father was not in the house with me anymore. And we would go to school, the kids were at school with me, and I would pick them up, and I had a really, really bad day. And I remember coming home, and I just wanted to talk to my mom. So I told the kids, I said, look, just go ahead in your room, watch TV, and I went into my bedroom, and I just called my mom, and I just cried, and I just let it all out because I couldn't muster up that super strength to put on that brave face for my kids anymore, and who are those people that you go to when you're not super mom? Who do you reveal yourself to that you're saying, listen, my power is dwindling, and you don't even have to say it. When they hear your voice, then they already know. And for me, that is my mom, my older sister, Linda, my spiritual mom, Marcella, and every one of these ladies, these Jawns up here on this stage has been there for me during different seasons of my life. And sometimes I don't have to say anything. It's when they don't hear from me, they know something's going on. So let's talk about some of those people in your life, when everything isn't good, Who can you reveal yourself to? Jackie?
So I'll just think about a moment where, and this is, my mom, of course, is always there. She's always there to dry a tear. She's always there to hear the story. But again, my mom is already a super mom, so I get my strength from her. And sometimes it's not easy to talk to a person that's as strong as you are. And so I just remember one day coming home from work, like you said, the day was hard. I've had it. I'm tired after dance, after basketball, and everything else. I still have to cook dinner and move on for the day. So I sat outside my car, and I was just sitting there looking at my house saying, oh, this needs to be repaired. That needs to be repaired. Oh, I can't, what am I going to do? And my neighbor, which became like a surrogate grandma to me, knocked on the window. She said, what are you doing? And I was like, just thinking. She was like, there's only one day and one day. Take one moment out of this day. She said, get out the car and come have tea. So when I was having a bad day, she would know. And because sometimes I would just sit outside of my house like, I don't want to go in there with them, But she would say, come over and have tea. And I would go over and have tea with her and talk to her. And not about anything about maybe even what was going on, but she would make me feel just much better.
Okay. Tara?
So I have a few people that are there for me. Of course, all of you guys. But my mom and I have a routine where when I get off work, I call my mom on the way home. So, it's that routine that helps keep me going. And when I break that routine, then she's calling me. Did you forget about me? She didn't hear from me. Something's wrong, and she knows it. But I also have who I call my Mama Janie. And my Mama Janie came to me through work at University of Penn. And she sends me the most encouraging messages at the right time. And she'll, send a message like, baby, you all right? You and baby girl all right? And so it's good to have those people in your life who know you and they know what it is that you do on a normal basis. So when you do slack off, they're right there to check on you. And so that matters a lot for me.
Okay. Michelle?
So my mom is this strong, battle woman. She's a warrior, really. She raised all 7 of us, with my father, of course, but she was the one who made sure everything worked. The lights were on, the gas was on, whatever. And so I always felt not ashamed, but it was difficult for me to go to her if I had a problem because she's strong, so that means I have to be strong. Yeah. But somehow she always sensed when something wasn't going correct. And she would just give out this wisdom in her own crazy, witty way. She curses a lot, so she'll just go off and say whatever she gotta say. Like, she has no filter. She just says what she has to say. But when you can pick out everything that you need to pick out and strengthen yourself from it, it's amazing, because she always has this great insight. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. So whenever there were tough times or hard times, I knew that I could talk to her, but I didn't have to say exactly what the problem was, because she just would sense it. Like, even this morning, like, she would just sense that there was something going a little strange, or something was going off a little bit, but she would always find a way to just impart her knowledge regardless. Like, she would make sure she imparted her knowledge.
Yes.
So that was one person. And then my grandmother, as I was growing up as a child, my grandmother was always there she was just there to comfort me. So my mother was a person who was always busy, always making sure things were straight in the house, and, that person. But my grandmother was more the nurturing type person. So I had the best of both worlds. I had the strong person, the warrior, and then I had the nurturer too. So I have the balance of the two.
Stacy?
For me, I would say it was my grandmother, my mother, and then when I came to the Church of Christian Compassion, the Lord just allowed me and Minister Andre Lifford to connect. And it was out of nowhere when I was absolutely going through. And I remember just asking God, who can I go to? Who can I connect with? And he allowed me to hear his voice and allowed me to give her a call. And we've been connected ever since. If I needed anything in the midnight hour, she would absolutely be there for me and my children no matter what. So I just want to say that she is the one that took me further further than my mom had. It was like stages. And so on this side, the spiritual side, she just showed me some things, and she groomed me to be the best woman that I can be, along with my mother and along with my grandmother as well. So each and every one of them imparted little nuggets that I take away to this day and stand on.
Yes, so we are so grateful for all of the people in our lives that have been able to impart into us and make us the women that we are. Some of us mentioned the reliance of friends during difficult times, and as most of you know, we call each other them Jawns up here. Yes. And through this journey of motherhood, we've met each other at different phases and different stages of our journey, but each and every one of them up here, and even people that I had known from my childhood, they're all important in their own way. I honestly don't know what I would do without my friends. And it's really, really difficult sometimes as a mother when you're raising your children and you are, so concerned about them. You're a dance mom and you're a church mom and, you're trying to do all of these different things. And it's really easy to say, like, well, wait a minute, what about me? When is that time for me to go out and have fun? If you're married, when my children were young, I was married. So you're trying, like Stacy and Michelle, you're still trying to be a wife, and you're trying to do all these things, and you're trying to work, and you're trying to grow. If you're single, you're trying to date, and you have these kids, but where is that time where you just want to have fun? So I think that we've done a pretty good job of finding fun, through these different seasons. So let's talk about the importance of, having good friends. How do you choose these friends? What are your qualifiers? What are the disqualifiers? Who do you let come to your house? You always have that wise woman, when you were young, like, you don't let all them women come in your house around your man. Yes. You know what I mean? Don't let everybody around your kids. How do you decide? How do you decide what a friend is? Jackie?
I really didn't decide for some of you up here. You decided to choose me, like Stacy. She didn't choose me. Travis, her husband, chose me. Our children were friends. They used to play together all the time. And we just see each other all the time. And one day he said, you should get to know her. You be good together. You have kids together. And one day we took our youngest daughters to Fairy Storybook Land, and we've been friends the longest. So I thank Elder Travis for that. So we're sister friends. And with these joins, it just happened in different seasons of my life, and it was so funny. I've been friends, like I said, with Stacy the longest. My child has never spent the night at anyone's home until later years, and very other few people besides their home. I've watched their daughters. They watch mine. We watched them grow up. We've been dance moms together. We've been church moms together. We've done a whole lot together. The way these Jawns happened to come in, and I got invited to a birthday party with Minister Tara, and I'm looking at my sister Stacy, and I'm saying, what do they want with me? I mean, I'm down with sister friends, but I'm like, well, what do they want with me?
Yes.
And I was invited to a party, and I opened myself up. So, not being deep and everything, but the Bible says to show yourself friendly, right? So I hung out with these girls, and we've been kicking it ever since. I mean, Michelle tried to out me out of the group when Kristen said, we're going to have, we need Jackie. And she was just like, why? And I'm like, why? We've been friends for the longest, Michelle, out of all of these from children's church.
We need a hallelujah on tonight in our group. And she cooks every Sunday.
So important.
Tara.
Well, Kristen and I were kind of pushed together through a small group ministry here at the church. It was like we both showed up at the same appointment time and then just connected, and she can't get rid of me. So, she had to just say, all right, she's a forever friend. But, these other ladies, it's been the same kind of experience. There are certain qualities that you look for in a friend, and, loyalty is one of them, because you want to be able to bare your soul and know that they're not going to look at you funny, treat you funny, or share your information with other people. And for me, that is crucial. You hear people say nowadays on social media and all that, I'm not for everybody. I truly am not for everybody. Like, I am a little country, I'm a little rock and roll. I get on their nerves, but they love me anyway.
Some days.
Except for Michelle. They love me anyway. And that's just so important, that it's a judgment-free zone. We laugh together, we cry together, we cut up like no other. And Stacy, kind of being dragged along into this craziness with us, I scared the mess out of her one time when we were in Cape May. And she's still hanging around. So we knew she was Joan material right there.
Yes. Okay, Michelle.
Well, qualifiers. When I think about friendship, I think about people who you can trust, people who are loyal, people who can pray for you without even you telling the whole story. Look, I need prayer, period. That's all we can send a text for. I need prayer, and the prayers will go up. You know what I mean? It's people who have your back, regardless of what's going on. People who can tell you that you're wrong when you know that you're wrong and you don't care that you're wrong, and they're still on your back about you being wrong and still love you regardless. That's what Jawns are about. That's what these Jawns are all about.
Friendly fire.
And they are qualifiers for a friendship. You can't be a friend with everyone, and that is true. And I'm not for everyone, and I'm cool with that. I'm quirky. I'm kind of weird. I am weird. I know it. But that's me, and they love me regardless. They keep me around regardless. But I met, who did I meet first? I met Kristen first, I think. Yes, I did. No, I met Jackie first. I met Jackie in children's church when I first got here, and we started in children's church, and I was like one of the teachers then. And I met Jackie then, and she was cool. Her daughter was cool. My daughter was cool. And we vibed just like that because all of our kids are all growing up at the same time. My child can go to any of these women's homes, and I know that she's going to be fed. If she didn't have clothes, she was going to be clothed. I know that she's going to be well because she's with these women. So I met Jackie first, then I met Kristen. She said, oh, I want to be a part of children's church. I was like, girl, we need you. So then I met Kristen. I met Stacy at Marriage Enrichment Ministry. That's where I met Stacy. And then Tara just came along. I don't know where Tara came from, but she just came along. I think it was Children's Church trying to run things. But regardless of how we met, we are still here today because we know that we have a common ground. We have a common understanding that no matter what goes on, and I don't care how wrong I am, I know you're still going to love me regardless. And those are qualifiers for me.
Stacey?
I say for me, it was definitely what Michelle said, is who I can trust my kids with, and who I allow my children to call auntie. My children have spent the night at each and every one of their homes, except Tara. Yeah, my daughter hasn't stayed over at Tara's house, but Jackie, I have definitely known the longest. She will ride with you until the wheels fall off. She is definitely a rider.
Yes.
So, she has shown me absolutely the definition of a friendship, because I don't really have too many friends in my circle. But the ones that I have in my circle, I know absolutely that I can call on them. My children can go over there. If I have an emergency, they will pick up my children for me. And it's not that many people that I can absolutely call a friend. So definitely someone that I can trust my children around, and also come to my home as well and respect my home.
Absolutely, yes. So, we definitely have those common threads of loyalty and, resiliency and love, unconditional between all of us. I've all of my, well, two of my children, one is a girl, they all danced together, they did everything together. I've taken all of their kids to Cape May, we got on speedboats together, like everything, because they know if the boat goes down, I'm gonna jump over and save their kids, at the end of the day. I can't swim, but I'm not gonna come back alive and not their kids, so they know that I'm just there for them. And we focus a lot on, the friendship amongst us. And when we were talking the other day, we were saying, we focus so much on, making sure that our children are raised in church, and we talk about passing down generational wealth and teaching them about, finances and things, but do we really focus on creating a culture of friendship and sisterhood to pass down to our children? I think that that's equally as important as some of the other things that we teach our children. And we right here are proof that, that old, those old sayings that women can't get along, and, people always looking at you side-eyed and all that stuff. Like, we have dispelled that myth right here on this stage. I have friends, my friends Lisa and Tasha from high school and college. They all have everyone's up here's phone number. Sometimes they're like, Tara's like, oh, that's Tasha on another line, or Jackie's talking to Tasha about a resume, or they were invited to Lisa's surprise party, just different things. I'm like, you don't even know them, but they do know them, and they get along because there's that common thread that I look for in every friend that I have. So what can we do? And I think we're doing a pretty good job, but what else can we do to make sure that our children understand those qualifiers and understand how to make friends, and good friends, and be able to be good friends to other people? Michelle?
Well, I think if it's demonstrated before them, everything that we want them to learn, we want to be models for them. And so, even when Cameron has different issues with a friend, I'm always trying to explain to her what is really going on. She has a friend who just had a baby, and they were really good friends before the girl had the baby. But then afterwards, the girl started withdrawing from the group, and she started having issues and things like that. And then I had to explain to Cameron, I said, well, there's a different thing that goes on in your life after you have a child. And when you're at that age, really things go on. So I had to try to explain to her, don't give up on this friend because this friend is going through something. Continue to find out what's going on and seeing what you can do as a friend to help her out. The same that I would do for Jackie, or the same I would do with sometimes for Tara, but definitely for Kristen and for Stacy, definitely, we have this thing, Tara and I, but I make sure it's demonstrated before her. I have friends from my childhood, I have friends from college, friends from high school, and my daughter knows them, and she calls them aunt whoever, so she understands that, friendship has a longevity, and you have your ebb and flows, you have that emotional roller coaster that you're going to go through. Some days you really love her, and then the next day you really can't stand her, but that's still your friend. So I think I think that if we continue to demonstrate and model before our kids what true friendship really looks like, and then also trying to be a friend with them, not a friend like that, but showing them what friendship really looks like.
Okay. Stacey?
Demonstration is key, just like Dr. Michelle has said. I have two daughters. Actually, I have a son too, but my two daughters, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, why don't y'all have friends? Because I'm a very good friend. I'm a caring friend. I'm a nurturing friend. With my younger daughter, she do have some friends, and then somebody's birthday was coming up and they went all out for her. So I'm like, well, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, So I'm trying to help her to not be a taker all the time, but to be loving and caring. What you want somebody to do for you, you also, should display that. It goes both ways. You can't do something for one person and not do something for another. So I'm trying to help her to see that you have to be able to, just do something for your friend. If you don't have the money, then you can just take a drive, get a card, a dollar store card. It doesn't take that much to show someone that you care. So I'm just trying to help them to see that you need friends. You can't be always by yourself, or you can't be always with me because I have these Jawns. I'm a Jawn plus, so I have them, and they can't always want to go out with me all the time because I'm going out with my Jawns. So I'm just trying to help them to see that you need friends. You cannot be out here by yourself like that.
Great. Tara.
And that is so important. The modeling is it. You really have to show them, because a lot of times kids don't listen to what we say. They listen to what we do. And I know for myself, my daughter trusts these ladies. And I can remember when I was going through a season of illness. Taryn would get on the phone and she would text or she would call Michelle or Kristen to let them know that, her mom wasn't doing well. But the other side of that also is that we have fun. And my daughter knows we have a good time. And she sees us and she's like, well, Mom, can I go? No, you can't. I'm with the girls. You can't do that. But she sees that not only are we Christian women and mothers, but we still have a good time, let our hair down, have good, wholesome fun. So, it's important. Again, they're watching us and that's how they learn.
Jackie?
I think what's really important that we model is conflict resolution. As we stated, all of our girls have grown up together, a lot of them, and some of them have had conflicts. They were very good friends. They had to spend the night with one another, parties, celebrations, everywhere. But what do you do when your kid isn't invited and all the other kids are invited, or vice versa? And I think as parents, we had to model that too, right, Michelle and Stacy? The girls had some falling outs, but we're still friends. And we're not getting in the middle of what you guys are doing right now. At some point, you're going to figure out how to fix this and where you need to be as friends. Some friends are very close, some are distant, but you guys are going to need to figure that out. And I think they found their common ground and they're all well and good and it's all good with them now, but it's just something too you have to model. As Tara said, everybody's not for everybody, but that doesn't mean that we still can't love and care for one another. And so I'm glad to say that we always model that as well. Just because you aren't besties or you aren't a Jawn, it doesn't mean that you're not cared about or you still can't be a close friend.
Amen. All right, so we talk a lot about, the children and how we revolve everything around them. But in the midst of it, we have a whole identity. We're growing as women, and we are still trying to, proceed and figure out who we are and where we're going, looking at that brand new person that God is trying to develop in us. So when we think about that now, after all these years of raising little kids, all of us up here, we are either parents of teens or young adults. So the role now is very different. I am the only one up here right now that's an empty nester, and my children are 18 and 21, so I have two adults. And things changed, and as they, left the home or as they didn't need me in the same way that they used to need me, it started to get me to a point where I had to look at myself differently. I never would have thought of myself as a person who wasn't sure of who she was as I was raising my kids or anything like that. But it's almost like when you think of a Jenga puzzle and, you pull out that one little log and either it can crumble or it'll stay there. And I got to that point where I was like, okay, either I'm going to crumble because they don't need me like they used to, or I'm going to find a way to stay standing. So let's talk about how you're feeling now that those children don't need you the way they once did. And they're not going to be in the house much longer. Stacy and Michelle, you have husbands. Like, what is it going to look like now that they're not kids in the house and it's just you and them? What is it going to look for us that are single, that are, that are looking maybe to, be married again? So what does that look like? All right, Michelle, I see you have a lot to say about this.
I cannot wait. Okay, I cannot wait. wait. I'm like counting down the days. I'm all organizing things. I've been telling Cameron what she needs to do, trying to get her prepared. I'm like, girl, you need to learn how to cook. You need to do this. You need to do that. You got to take care of yourself when you are in your dormitory. Yes, or your apartment. Like Cameron is 17. She'll be 18 in a couple of months. She'll be going to college next year because she's a junior this year. Straight A's, 2 jobs too. But what I cannot wait for is for my child to be out of my house. And not like that, like I'm trying to kick her out to the curb. No, that's not even it, because I know I'm going to be there playing in the background, like the apps that we have on our iPhones. You know, they are still playing in the background. That's how I'm going to be, but I just cannot wait to just be in the house with just me and my husband and a cat and dog, of course, but it's still going to be just us in the house. And I keep on thinking about what am I going to do once Cameron is out, and I keep thinking about it like I've been doing the same thing. Like, although my life revolves around my family, my life still revolves around me too, because I've compartmentalized my life to the point where I have boundaries, where I know you get this amount of time, I get this amount of time, you get this amount of time. Like, that's just been my life for all of my life. So I don't feel like I'm going to be that person that once she's gone, I'm going to be like, well, what do I do now? I'm not going to be that person, because I've been doing certain things while she was still there. But I cannot wait. I cannot wait. But anyway.
All right, Stacy.
Well, I was an empty nester for just a little bit, so I had just a little bit of that experience. And I tell you, it was so peaceful, so peaceful. But now she is back, and she's like, well, what are we going to eat? And I'm just like, I don't have to feed you. I got to feed me and my husband. I don't have to feed you. You know, but when she is completely gone, you know, I will be able to have my extra room back and be able to have a whole lot more space. But right now, I'm just trying to help her, you know, to understand that, you know, once you are out, you know, you are out. And that means you have to be able to do what you have to do for yourself in order to maintain being out. That means preparing your own meals, and that means making sure your area is clean, you know. And she's 19 and she, you know, still not there yet, but, you know, while she is back home, my job now is to prepare her for the world.
Yeah. Yes, Tara.
I think this pandemic really prepared me for that time where Taryn will exit the household. She's only 16, so I do have a couple more years left. But her and I have been so close all of these years that my friends joked with me that, oh, you're going to be right there at college with her. But through this pandemic, she spent a significant amount of time over her dad's house. So I had to really learn what to do with me when I was in the house. It's me and the dogs that I call my boys. And I realized, hey, I enjoy it. I really enjoy, and I'm not one that cooks. These ladies are awesome with that sort of thing. They cook for their kids and all. I'm not that one, so that was not my challenge. But I put her toothbrush out in the morning. I put her washcloth out in the morning. All of that kind of stuff. And then I realized, hey, you can just do this for yourself and find something else to do with your time. So, you know, I've created more projects for myself to do. I take time to soak in the tub, you know, all in preparation for just being able to do me. So now I'm looking forward to her exiting the home.
Yes, this is my exodus.
Yes.
Redeeming the time. I'm 4 out of 4. She's on her way out the door. We only have about a couple of months left, and I'm excited. So at the end of the day, like you said, I'm excited, but I've been working on some things to figure out who I am beyond being, hey, John 2's mom, hey, everybody's mom, you know, or whatever. I am, you know, Jackie. I have an identity. I had an identity. I realized that I love live music. I still like to cook, so I'm going to have to figure out how to scale it back, and I guess y'all probably can help me because they come over and eat all the time. But I have to figure out how to scale that back and, you know, not be wasteful with cooking and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having extra space. I'm looking forward to not wiping up anybody's toothpaste stains off the mirror in the bathroom and all kinds of stuff like that. Just having my own quiet time. And as Michelle said, just like those apps in the back, I'm going to still be back there, but fly, have your wings, and do your great thing.
Okay, all right. So as we come to an end, I just wanted to know, as seasoned moms, do you have any life hacks for those younger mothers that might help them out as they're going through? Life hacks, just things that make things a little bit simpler. We only have about another minute, so really quickly, Michelle, you have something to say?
Be you, follow your dreams.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you have always wanted to do, go for it. You can still do it and have children and have a husband or a relationship. You still can go and do it. Just go and do it.
Yes, Stacy?
Have patience with the children. Be you, and make sure you are always praying and asking God for guidance and direction as you, as you train your children in the Lord. Just make sure you have a prayer life so that way you will be able to have wisdom and guidance as God lead, guide, and direct you.
Amen.
Tara?
Yes. I would say plan, prepare, and press.
Yes.
I'll add another P to that. Plan, prepare, press, pray, and aluminum pans.
Amen.
You need to prepare meals in aluminum pans.
Yes.
It gives you back your time. When you come home, you pop them in the oven, redeem some time.
Okay, yes, and I would say, teach your kids how to do what you don't like to do. Let them find, I don't like to do this, so I'm going to teach you how to do this. That makes life a lot easier. But we are so grateful that you spent time with us this night. Thank you, and we hope that you found yourself in some of these conversations. We realize that some people, we are all very fortunate to have all of our mothers still with us, especially after this year. But we recognize that for some people that this, this time of the year can be rough. So our hearts go out to you, and we are praying for you. But we really hope that you find it in your heart to celebrate that relationship that may not be there, and celebrate yourselves as women, because all women, whether you have birthed a child or not, you operate in a maternal way. So if you like this type of dialogue, we would ask that you would type it in the chat. We also ask that you would join us every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. at Compassion Ministries. You can either sign up to come in to worship with us, or you can view us online. I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day to everyone, and thank you for spending the evening with them Jawns.